Hey, this is the Don from Dinner on a Podcast. You're listening to the Nerd Podcast Mafia, entertainment your ears can't refuse.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one too.
Quarter pounder with cheese in France, Mickey. What? Royale with cheese. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And JD.
And gentlemen, we have another guest with us this week. It is an actor, star of stage and screen. He has been in such projects as I, Tonya, Revenge, A Love Story. He was recently in Game Night. I believe, though, that our audience is most likely going to know this man from The Walking Dead as Jared. So, of course, I'm talking about the one and only Joshua Mikel. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. So,
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for coming on.
So, one of the real basic questions we usually like to start with is acting something you always wanted to do?
I was talking to my nephew about this the other day, that kind of like throughout your life, things change for you. I think when I first thought about what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Well,
then I really thought about that. That was probably like 6-year-old to 11-year-old me, mm-hmm. and then I wanted to animate. I wanted to be an animator for Disney, but then things started going the way of the computer, and cell animation sort of went the way of the dodo. So that was a less reputable career, and it seemed less likely. And then I started doing theater in high school, and I continued I went to college for theater and creative writing, and continued to love it. As long as it keeps me employed and I'm able to do it, I want to continue doing it. It's fun.
Cool. Did you ever have any? I know going into the arts, sometimes it's hard to get buy-in from your family. Were they supportive, or
did they chase you away from paleontology or whatever?
No, my folks were supportive. In fact, more so than I knew at the time. I wanted to go to Florida State, which is out of state, and Georgia has a pretty solid pay for your college agreement with students. If you get like a 3.5, it's funded by the lottery. So if you get a 3.5 or above, you get it's called the Hope Grant. So I could have gone in state and gotten free tuition, but there was no comparable program to Florida State's for theater, so they kind of bent over backwards to help me go there. I don't think they truly believed that, they believed that it's what I wanted to do, and they were going to, help me do that. But I don't think they felt like it was going to turn into a career. I think they maybe thought I'd end up teaching somewhere, doing something, something different down the line. But, they owe a lot to my folks for putting me through school and helping and taking out loans and all that mess.
I mean, honestly, a lot of, most people that say, oh, I'm going to be an actor, usually don't make it. So it's kind of hard. you can understand when your parents like, okay, let him have his fun for a while, and when he's finished, he'll paleontology. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then when you make it big, I mean, what was their look on their? I mean, like when did they know you made it? Like what was the part that you got that they finally said, okay, this is actually a thing?
You know, I think it's actually the Walking Dead. I've gotten a number of roles in, pretty decent movies, some really terrible movies. And I've been working in the craft for about 7 years now, in film and TV, 7.5, 8 years. So I think, but truly, they didn't think it was, I don't know if they knew it would sustain me like it has. And truly I didn't either, up until I booked Walking Dead, and that turned into a little bit, you suddenly have this platform to, that a lot more folks know your work and experience your work, and work begets work. And it's unfortunate, I think, a lot of times for folks that are in the arts, because so often the fruits of your labors, sometimes don't happen until you're dead, but, it doesn't make the work any less noble. So I think it takes a little while. Unfortunately, 7 years isn't that long of a time for me to feel like, okay, all right, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right. So did you book Dirty Grandpa before or after you got Walking Dead?
Before. That was before.
Okay.
I only worked, I actually worked a couple weeks on it, but actually was there on set like 3 days.
Okay. I mean, you got, actually, a scene with Robert De Niro. What was that like?
Yeah. Robert De Niro's in Dirty Grandpa, but my scene wasn't. I appear in the background of a scene that he did.
Oh.
But I have another scene. I worked in another film called Heist.
That's what I was thinking of. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. No. Thank you for doing some research. Jeffrey Dean Morgan stars in Heist,
yes,
alongside Robert De Niro. And, that was wild. My friend Max did a rewrite of the script, and he really threw me a bone there. He got me the audition, and I think I auditioned for a couple of parts in the film, but, that was the one that we were really pushing, because obviously it's a scene with an acting legend, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of actors don't get the opportunity to feel that sort of validation, because when you're in a scene with somebody that person is technically, no matter what kind of divine auspices led to it, that person is your peer for a moment. Mm-hmm. And to be able to share a scene with someone like De Niro is just unreal.
And not only that, I mean, he doesn't pull the trigger, but you have the honor of being killed by him. So,
yeah, yeah, killed by killed by Morris Chestnut, who has a really incredible career in film and TV too. So, that was a cool thing. I would love to be killed by them again.
Cool. Yes, and I did do research. I watched your YouTube video, and
I've seen a few too on Vimeo.
No. I'm talking about the one where you introduce yourself, and so apparently you don't like Kenny Loggins.
No, Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
No. That was actually an audition for an improv thing.
Oh wow!
And they just wanted a character, and so that was kind of like this closeted, redneck who was insecure in his sexuality was someone I thought I would do. So I threw it up as an about me.
Okay.
And have treated it. I keep forgetting that thing is up there, but yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't, Kenny Rogers is pretty amazing. He's got Roasters, he's got, Islands in the Stream with Dolly Parton. That's no career to scoff at.
That's true.
It's true.
Yes.
I don't know if
Kenny
they're
Loggins
around anymore. Are there roasters around? Have y'all ever been to a Roasters?
No.
Oh, yeah. You've seen these things, right? There was like a chicken place at Kenny Rogers.
Yes.
Like the name. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Were they bigger? They might have been bigger down south.
I don't, there was one on Florida State campus that was like a Roasters and a Miami Subs. In Miami Subs is equally as obscure of a restaurant. But yeah, I think they might be all, they may have gone the way of the dodo themselves. So.
Yeah. So you have two projects. Well, one is finished, but it hasn't aired yet. And one is coming out this summer. I don't know how much you can talk about them.
Sure.
But you're going to be in an episode of Black Lightning coming up.
Hooray.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Sorry?
That's a good thing. I like Black Lightning. I don't know about the other guys, but
yeah, it's cool. I knew it was coming to town, and I read for a couple things early on and didn't get that stuff, and then I got this pretty cool role that shows up a little bit later in the season. But yeah, it's a cool thing. I guess I can't really say too much about it, but everybody there on the crew and the cast are awesome folks, and it's amazing to have so much to be kind of a small part of this Black excellence thing that's happening, and to have what I think a lot of folks consider a really well written show happening that features a African American superhero, and to have that happening alongside of Black Panther, and to be somewhere included on that in that surge is pretty cool.
So I can ask you one thing about it, and I think you might be able to answer this. Do you play a good guy or a bad guy?
I'm not sure that's completely clear, and I'm not sure I can answer that either.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, the reason why I'm asking is because throughout Walking Dead, from everything I've read and seen, you play a very nasty personage, like somebody who revels in chaos and causing harm. And I from all the other people we've interviewed, usually playing the bad guy is the most fun. Is that what you find?
Absolutely, yeah. I a long time ago, when I was a kid, I've always loved like Disney villains and stuff, and it is. I think they're more complex a lot of times, and Jared in particular, I feel like I've auditioned for I've auditioned for the show a number of times. I had probably 10 or 15 times, and so when I got Jared, it just felt like, all right, this is the one for me. And the first day on set, Greg Nicotero that was directing that one, and he kind of gave me a free rein like I had never had before, and I suddenly felt like, oh, this is what it's like to sit in the character and understand, like, and feel comfortable in it. And it suddenly felt, for one of the first times in my career, that the things that I was doing, folks were excited about, not, I wasn't being directed away from my impulses a lot of times, which was, that's a rare thing, I think, for a lot of folks.
No, when you say impulses, like the impulse to hit your co-stars, or?
Oh, no. Like when you feel like, cause I auditioned for the thing, you throw yourself on tape, and then after that, there's no rehearsals or anything. No one's helping you really try and find a character or understand who this guy is, or gives you any backstory even. The only stuff I had seen from the show, I mean, of course I had watched the show, but the stuff I had seen from the episode we were shooting were the pages that my character existed on. So the sides that I got were not the entire episode. So I didn't really know, you're putting a lot of faith in your director and everyone else to kind of, tell you what direction you're supposed to take the character. And, my impulse to kind of make this guy a dick, and, but then to feel the director say, hey man, that's great. More of that, more of that, more of that. Usually it's less of that. Usually you're doing too much. And I think especially actors coming from the theater that you tend to do too much and you tend to try and draw too much attention. And, it's about serving the scene. But, for me as Jared, it suddenly became something different in a great way.
Cool. So you felt like you got to shape the character a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's by nature of having a character that exists. I've had recurrings before, but nothing as substantial as Jared really. So being able to shape a character over a number of episodes and, obviously have conversations with folks who like the show and kind of that always helps me understand it a little bit more too.
Cool. And then the other big movie that you're going to be in this summer, and I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about, but that's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, no, it's Marvel. If he talks about it, they'll find us like within minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't really say too much about it. My stuff is relatively small, but it's it's a cool bit, and it was an amazing set to be on. It's so massive, and Peyton Reed is it was awesome watching him work. He directed the first one, and just a really sweet dude, and it's a cool thing. Like I said, my stuff is pretty small, but I'm stoked about that one.
Cool. All right. So not about that movie. Who can you tell us that dies in Infinity War?
Yeah. Listen, if I knew, I'd spill the beans.
Wait! I think I hear a helicopter over my house.
Yeah.
It's like,
no.
Oh, look, it's black. Go figure.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool when they were shooting that. It shot here in Atlanta or whatever, and that people were posting photos. Like, I had friends that were working in the high rises that they were shooting near, and so friends would post on Facebook photos of the set happening, and then all of a sudden you'd see these same photos or very similar photos being carried by, Hollywood Reporter or Entertainment Tonight or whatever the hell, being shared all over the place on Twitter.
Right. Was that the first thing that you were involved with where it's that much coverage?
With Ant-Man, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I at the time in the second Independence Day film that I worked on, it was pretty secretive, but I worked the pickups on that one, so it was pretty secretive, but, yeah, Ant-Man was definitely one of the, aside from Walking Dead, really. I mean, Walking Dead's pretty tight-lipped about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So since you're from the area and, working on The Walking Dead and all that, like, I always hear there's a lot of more and more productions moving into Atlanta. Is that like, do you really enjoy being able to work on projects and being close to home like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. I always thought I'd have to end up in New York or LA, but, and be away from my family. My dad's health is pretty poor, so, I didn't really, there was stuff shooting here, and there was enough that I felt like, okay, well, I'll stay close to home and kind of try and, land whatever I can. And then suddenly it's like, oh wow, like there's enough here that you can have a pretty reputable career and not have to go anywhere else. And that's happened over the course of the 7 years that I've been here. I mean, obviously Walking Dead was going, and Tyler Perry and BET had a number of things shooting here already, and Vampire Diaries, but a lot of these shows we kind of owe so much to for showing the industry. Okay, you can shoot something here. Walking Dead in particular, you can shoot something here that can become a hit and do it in a comfortable place and be outside of the stresses of Hollywood, which I think appealed to a lot of industry folks for a little while. And that culture may be changing a little bit, but you never know.
Right.
Well, it's got to be cheaper. Like, it just living has got to be a hell of a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the living is, and there's a lot of options, like there is in Los Angeles and New York, but I think still it's affordable outside the city limits, within a reasonable drive, and you're able to put yourself on tape for so much, so you don't always have to be driving into the city for any reason. But I was talking to my roommate about it today, and he works in film and TV, and but he crews, and he brought up the fact that locations folks are kind of finding out that locations are costing a little bit more because the town is getting savvy on, they want to use our parking lot. Well, we've heard that productions pay for that sort of thing. So,
wow.
It only makes sense, and hopefully folks will continue to love making films here, and the incentives will stay in place and continue to incentivize films to come here.
Cool. So is there a dream role out there that you haven't done yet?
Honestly, like, there's a lot that I haven't done yet. Like I said, with Jared, it's one of the first times that I feel like I can sink my teeth into a role and be able to live in something that lasts more than one episode. So that's a new challenge and a new, exciting kind of, career avenue. But now, there's tons of stuff I would love to do. I think I would kill to be on a Coen Brothers film or any sort of Coen Brothers production. TV's Fargo. That stuff's amazing to me. But yeah, there's tons out there that I have not done. I think, after 7 years in it, I'm finally getting to that point where hopefully I'm going to be more often working, stuff with a little bit more meat to it. I've had a lot of one-liners and bit parts. So, who knows, but hopefully, just more stuff that I get more of an opportunity to build that character around.
Right.
Well, even if you don't, find another part that's a long-lasting thing, you do a lot of other stuff too. You're a playwright, and you've done videos, like in music videos, like the one I saw on Vimeo called Tiny Empires, which is disturbing.
Thanks, man.
Yes. Thank you. You're happy that it's disturbing. Perfect. You good job. So like you do a lot of other stuff. Tell us about that, and like, what do you enjoy about, like, say, making music videos? That what got you into that?
I started making music videos for my band, or thinking I was making them. I was getting my film school friends to. I would say I would direct them, but then turns out I didn't actually know what directing was, and they would end up. I was mostly producing them, but at the time I didn't know it. So for the band I was playing for, we did a couple videos, and then bands we were playing with started asking if I could handle their videos. And then I actually got to the point where I actually was directing them and actually was producing them. And I somehow came across the plates of Island Def Jam and a couple other folks, and was able to, make lyric videos for them. And I did a couple for, like, that band Neon Trees and American Authors, and I did a few for this band I really love, Against Me, and it just kept kind of it snowballed a little bit, and then after a while it got kind of out of hand. My rent was such that I didn't have to make a lot of money, and my goal at the time was just pay the bills, not working a 9 to 5. And yeah, that I was able to do that for a while, but then I think I needed to grow in a way that I wasn't prepared for, and start making more videos involving more people, and that I just got burnt out, so I kind of stopped doing that. But I still write. I went to school for theater and creative writing, and so I started writing kids plays, and I have a few of those published, and they get productions every now and again, and I'm still writing my own stuff. It's just a way to kind of keep things moving, and not like obsessed over not getting auditions and stuff.
Right.
No, that's great. Yeah.
We've been talking, for about a half hour now, and you're very nice and personable. I can't believe that you're Jared on The Walking Dead.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun playing a dick, but at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing, I'm actually, I can be a dick. But yeah. Thanks.
Should we invite one of your ex-girlfriends on?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Maybe my current girlfriend. She would have more to say to that than my exes, unfortunately.
Well, that's just it. You get it all out on The Walking Dead, and you've got nothing left for real life, so you're just a nice guy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's amazing. I'm just kind of basking in it right now. It's, to have people care about what you're doing suddenly when you've been kind of, seemingly going against the stream for 7 years. It's nice, like I said, the Walking Dead gives actors a platform that they've never had before. And I've talked to Coop and Cooper Andrews, who plays Jerry, and Jason Warner Smith, who played Gavin. And we talked to them about it a couple of times, and it's like we're doing the same exact work we were doing from the get-go, from when we started acting. Same preparation, and show up on set the same way, prepared the same way, and the rules of the game haven't changed. It's just suddenly we're a part of something that is so much bigger than the work we're doing day to day that people have operated on for 8 years and put so much time and energy and care into making this thing the phenomenon it has become. And we just kind of get grandfathered in somehow.
Right. Cool. So you're going to be on Black Lightning and in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So you've dipped your toes in both universes. Were you a fan of that kind of genre before?
I don't love comic book films. I'm going to see Black Panther on Wednesday. So I want to support it, but I wasn't jumping over hurdles to get out there and see it. I probably should have, but no, I tend to like more, more approachable dramas and things. But I mean, that sounds so douchey, but I really love Guardians. I really loved the first Ant-Man. I thought that was fun. But it's not something that's sort of like action film experiential shit. It's exhausting to me sometimes. But that sounds so douchey. I know I sound like such a douche, but so many people love that stuff. It's tough. It's tough. But yeah, didn't love, like Iron Man's great. I don't know. I like them. They're not my favorite films.
What are your favorite films?
Again, I'm going to just sound like a complete douche, but I love the Coen brothers so much. There's not a lot that they've done that I don't love. P.T. Anderson, There'll Be Blood, No Country for Old Men the fact that they came out the same year just blows my mind. But, I think both those are really incredible. I love Breaking Bad, like a lot of folks. It's tough. I don't know. At Blue Planet, you guys watch Blue Planet?
Yeah. That's, well, yeah, you gotta like that.
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yes. No, there's nothing wrong with the Coen brothers. It's not like, it's not like you have a secret like for anything the Wachowskis put out or something.
No, and I'm really excited to see what Jordan Peele does, after Get Out.
Oh, yes.
Get Out was amazing. There's tons of great content being made now, but those are some of my favorites for sure.
Right. I mean, I was actually with a fan of Key and Peele.
I think Keenan Peele was shocked when he did that.
Well, it's just amazing to show that just because you go down one creative venture doesn't mean you have to be shoehorned into that your whole career.
Right. Well, yeah, it's particularly hard to convince audiences to perceive you a different way.
Right.
And so a further testament to how strong of a film that is and how strong his direction was. So I think it's insurmountable for a lot of folks without taking a time, a couple years away and rediscovering themselves and reemerging as some batshit crazy Jim Carrey type or something.
Do you think people would have taken Get Out as seriously as they did if he starred in it himself?
No, I don't. I think maybe now he could potentially do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I tend to not try and not. I don't know. Not have definitive, rules for how things are done, because you're constantly proving, oh no, that's not what people want. This is what people want. And like when you get into that shitty area, that's kind of like the role of producers who are like fucking money ways, and like it's like no, like he wants to do a horror film and he wants to star in it, and like let him do it. I don't know. It's a tough thing, but no, I don't know. He may have.
I mean, I honestly think, and this is just pure speculation on my part, I believe that was a conscious effort on his part, because he wanted to be taken seriously as a writer and director more so than, I'm continuing my acting career and I'm creating a project for myself. And, and again, this is speculation. It's my opinion. I also don't think people would have, because they would have been expecting the comedy,
Yeah, absolutely. And having known people who have written, directed stuff, short films and features, written, directed, and starred in, I think that's a tough hat to wear for an inexperienced director.
Right.
Say if they're actors that are trying to make that transition or the other way around. So I'm sure the film, it was easier for him to manage. But I don't know. That's tough. It's cool that he suddenly has this new life as a director.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Which, you have credits as a director. So, like Tiny Empires, American Authors. I'm going by IMDb, so that could be all wrong. But did you like? Did you actually do it first? And if you did you like it?
Oh yeah. I did all that stuff. Those are all my music videos and stuff. And yeah, I loved it. I loved it when it was low pressure. And the more I did, the more pressure I felt. And the more money I was paid, the more pressure I felt. So it was a lot of fun very early on, and like the first one I did was for this. Well, one of the first lyric videos I did was for this artist Jake Bugg, and he's a British artist, and I used my nieces and nephews, and kind of like the creativity was the thing, and it really didn't even matter at the time how much I was getting paid. It wasn't enough for, I think, to be proud about it. I don't think it was enough for what we were doing, but it was just fun, and the timeline was reasonable, and it was just kind of a mad dash sort of thing, but it got a little bit too much. It got to be too much of a job after a while. But that doesn't mean I don't want to direct. I would love to direct something else. You guys, what do y'all do? I'm talking about myself a lot, and I don't even. Are you guys in the industry, or you just do this podcast for fun?
Oh God, Rory, you want to talk about us? You, jeez. Now
the closest one to working in the industry would be JD, who's been very quiet.
Yeah, I used to work in the industry, but I thought it sucked, so I left.
There you go. You guys are now brothers.
And now he just coaches championship wrestling teams.
I'm a writer. I'm a novelist and a comic writer.
Awesome.
But us two, we're just overachieving geeks.
Yeah,
basically.
we're both work in software development, and we actually used to work together and would have conversations about this kind of stuff all the time at work. With our third former co-host who left the show about a year ago, and but one day I was just like, "Hey, we should just record this and make it a podcast." And
that wasn't how you did it. You threw me in a room, tied me up, and put a microphone in front of my face.
Yeah.
that was over 4 years ago. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's just I'm one of those, like, I wanted to be a rock star when I was a kid, and always loved comics as well. So I try to be a creative person. I've always been fascinated with people who are in creative fields. So I love talking to people like you who, like I said, when I first started going to cons and meeting actors, it's like I quickly realized, like, they're not that person that I watch on the TV every week,
Right.
And that's when it's when it really clicked in my head, like, oh wow, like, there is an art to this. You're not just going out saying some lines and then walking off.
Right. Yeah.
And to tie us in, actually, like when we started interviewing people, that kind of pressure that I think you felt, I think we kind of felt too, or at least I know I did. And it made me go quiet a lot in the beginning of the show. And it's taken me years to get used to not being afraid to speak my mind, much to my co-star's chagrin, and to actually, be able to articulate stuff without worrying too much about what other people were thinking of it.
Yeah.
But now, you said that you felt pressure when you were doing the directing, but do you feel that same pressure when you're acting, or do you sublimate yourself into the role and it just comes to you, and it's the pressure doesn't even exist in that space?
I mean, it's a different kind of pressure. I think it's more acute when you're acting. Like when you're directing, it's much more prolonged and miserable because
Okay.
you get a project, and then you suddenly, like, you pitch for a project and you want that project, but you don't know exactly how it'll go from start to finish. You get it, and then you're trying to figure out, oh God, I got half the budget that I thought I could do this thing on, but I still want to do it. And it's just a series of problems. When you're acting, the lovely thing is, when you get an audition, it's all on you, and the amazing thing is, I feel very confident in my ability to self-tape or audition, and because I put the time into it. So I feel like I can control that thing. And there's other people who are stressing about all that other stuff, The unit production manager is running around like shitting his pants, thinking, "Oh, we're not going to get this location, and these other cards aren't falling into place." But here I am, like with 48 hours to learn 2 pages and throw myself on tape. So it's like, that's a wonderful thing. And then when you get the job, that they liked you for a reason already. So, like, it's an assault to your confidence a lot of times showing up on set, because all these people know each other, and if you're a day player or whatever, it can be pretty miserable, and you can think suddenly, like, oh, what am I doing here? This was a mistake. They made a mistake and didn't want me, actually, or whatever. Talk yourself out of why you're there in the first place a million times over. But really, like, if, you know, you get to a point where you show up and you're like, well, they wanted me for a reason, and I'm here because they like my tape, and, you know, it gives you that confidence, and then you just bring that into the scene, and, you know, if you're an actor that can take direction, there really should be no worry. It's like, you know, if the director gives me a new direction, then I need to adapt and take that, and hopefully give them what they want for the scene, and serve the piece. That's not a pressure that I feel is like as miserable as directing, you know.
See, that's the sign of a real actor, though, because I personally, it would be the exact opposite for me. If I were a director, I'd feel like, hey, if I get something wrong, I can fix it. You know, I can reshoot a take or, you know, re-edit something. But as an actor, I would, you know, I'd be ultra scared of sitting there trying to do something right on film that other people could critique, you know?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you trust your work and you think, like, I had a friend a while back tell me, like, I had taken a series of pretty bad movies, which I've taken many bad movies.
Everybody's got those. Come on.
Yeah. But, you know, he kind of brought it up that, like, well, you could turn this movie down and not pay your bills, or you could do the movie and people could say, oh man, that movie's complete shit. But, like, your work in the movie, you seem like you actually were living there. You seem like that, you know, that was a realistic thing. And they'll never be able to, you know, they may be able to attack your choice in movies, which, like, go fuck yourself. Like, I have to pay the bills, but, you know, they can't attack your work in it. And maybe they can, you know, but who, you know, if you trust your work, I don't know. That's the thing, I guess.
Well, I mean, Kevin Bacon, every other movie he makes sucks. I mean, but, you know, it's like you said, you take what you need to pay the bills, and you keep going and learn.
Yeah.
I guess.
I was going to use the example of Nicolas Cage because.
Oh yes, well there.
Sometimes he makes choices and he makes them and he sticks with them.
Right. He is bold. He is bold. It's because I did that Vengeance movie with him, and, you know, he's actually very subtle in that movie. And at a table read, he kind of encouraged me to make those bold choices, and I'm not entirely sure I lived up to that. I think I may have let Nicolas Cage down, but, you know, for me, it was about being honest in the character. And, you know, I think he loves making bold choices. And that, you know, oftentimes do translate to honesty, but, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, you know, you can't really let Cage down because one of Cage's most famous scenes is either the bees or laying a woman flat out with a punch in a bear costume. So, you know, there are degrees here.
Yeah. But you know, and he has such amazing work out there. And I spoke with one of the last podcasts I did about this. You know, I think a lot of folks want to write him off like he's crazy and like he's making these wild choices because he's someone who has been jaded by the Hollywood system or something. But having, you know, worked with him a couple days and you know, I think he is still having fun, and he makes these bold choices, and you know, I don't think it's because he's like some jaded millionaire or whatever. He just does what he thinks is awesome.
Right.
Well, you know, you keep going into, you know, whatever you can get. You might also get lucky and wind up in The Room with Tommy Wiseau or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I have indicators along the way that show me, like, all right, well, things seem to be turning for the better. Like, you've had a series of, like, you may have done a series of kind of whatever movies, but now you have a couple on your resume that actually people liked, you know.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had any near misses? Like, have you ever read a script and say, yeah, this isn't even worth the paper it's printed on, and find out later that you did the right thing?
I've said no. You get a sixth sense about these things a little bit the more you audition, and that happens for a number of reasons. Be it the email communication you have with the piece, or how you get involved with it, or the way that folks treat you one way or the other after you book it or whatever. So yeah, I feel pretty confident that I've stepped away from a lot of some of what could have been some of the worst experiences of my career, thankfully. But yeah, no, I don't have a lot of near misses, like stuff that I read for that I saw someone else do, or that I knew I got very close on, that I like I said, I'm just getting to that point where, like, you don't feel that same sort of loss when you're like, heckling Spectator, or something, or Pizza Guy. Like, I've had, the first 5 years of my career were basically those sorts of roles. So, when you miss a Pizza Guy, it's like, well, he did a pretty good job at it too. It's not like, I should have had that Pizza Guy role or something. God, that's the one that got away. That would have made my career.
Depends on what kind of movie you were making with the Pizza Guy.
Oh, yeah. Did somebody order a pizza?
I don't have any money to pay you.
I'll put it on the tab. The butt tab. Yeah, that's where I'm going to, actually. I'm just, if things flop, I'll just try and find my way in the porn industry. Just wait, guys. It'll be me up on your favorite porno channels.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
I don't think your fan
conversation with that dude. God damn
it. I don't think your fandom will be able to handle seeing Jared in that kind of situation. Little cognitive dissonance there.
Yeah. Oh boy, the spinoff. It'd be like a Walking Dead themed porno.
Oh, those already exist. Trust me.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We're flying a little close to the sun there. Let's.
Why do you know that?
Because I watched the Cinema Snob. That's why.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, okay, sure.
Can we look at your browsing history, John?
God's no.
Yeah,
I wipe the machine clean every day just to make sure.
Oh boy.
Inside and out.
There's a reason why I know what a 7-layer NSA wipe is.
Oh boy.
So.
Oh wait, a 7-layer NSA wipe. I thought you were speaking of some porno move. I was like, what is a 7-layer NSA wipe?
Well,
that's like locker room shit.
Well, that's God. We're Rule 34ing this pretty hard.
Are you now supposed to be cussing them? I'm sorry.
No. It's Rule 30. I think it's Rule 34. There's a porno of everything ever made, but the NSA wipe is you do 7 passes over a hard drive, rewriting every bit so that you can't even use an electron scanning tunneling microscope to figure out what was on it. It's fully non-recoverable. You might as well have blown it up with a nuke.
I just use handy wipes myself.
Yeah. I do what my parents do and donate it to Goodwill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's almost as good. Hopefully nobody picks it up from there.
Don't ever donate a used computer to Goodwill. Or at least take the hard drive out before you do.
Well, no, if I want to throw the NSA off the tracks.
You should have started by saying it on the podcast. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little late for that.
Oh, well.
So, along the lines of, maybe going out for something and not getting it, Have you ever had the experience of your part ending up on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, I have actually. I had a line in that movie, Let's Be Cops.
Oh.
And on the day of the audition, I came in, and it was like one line. It was like, can you please describe? Can you describe, like, you seem like you have I don't even remember the line clearly, but it was like, you seem like you have a background in police training. Can you talk more about that, or some shit? I don't know what it was. But I remember in the room, I was like cracking them up and like had a really interesting read on it that was like not rehearsed, but because I got in this room and these dudes were like laughing, and I just like, it was fun. And then I get on set and I have to ask this question in front of like a sea of like 300 extras. And I mean, I felt like I was just asking the question like a guy would at a conference or something. And, it ended up, the director came over to me a couple times and was like, hey, can you try it this way? And eventually he gave me like a line reading, and it was weird. And I was like, oh boy, you feel these, like sometimes as an actor, when you feel the director not happy with the work you're doing and you can sense that, I mean, you may as well, that thing may as well be cut. They may be rewriting the script around you at that point, because like that thing, you know, it's hard to recover from that. Mm-hmm. So like, I sensed that I was shitting the bed, and then the movie comes out, and yeah, it turns out my sensation was right. So, and you know, it wasn't completely necessary. They didn't like take anything up or anything, but it was just one quick line. But that's thankfully that's the only thing.
Okay. So it's a good story too, because it's not like you were like, I was so proud of that part. You know, I put my best foot forward.
No, I did. I got the sense that I was not making him happy. Mm-hmm. And it's tough with these like one-liners. You know, coming from the theater, I think a lot of people, dangerously try and bring too much to it. They're like, oh, where was this guy coming from before he came to this video game conference? And like, why is he here? And what is it, the fucking backstory that, is going to completely undermine me when I actually try and say the line. So yeah, it was wacky, but I learned, I got beyond it, and I'm sure it won't be the first thing. I'm sure I'll get cut from something else.
As long as it's right. As long as it's not Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? Then...
I mean, it may be. You never know. Uh-oh. I felt pretty good on it. I don't know. You just never know.
All right.
Yeah. But then, if I get cut from that one, I can end up in another Marvel film.
Well, that is true, right? Isn't that one of the unwritten rules of the MCU? Once you're a character, you can't be another character.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk after you see the movie too, because. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
That I would love to say, but I
Oh,
cannot.
man.
Yeah.
Darn it.
We understand. It's Marvel. It's,
yeah.
I don't know. What else is there? I've exhausted.
We didn't talk about game night.
Yes.
Game night's now. I don't know if you guys have caught it yet.
I have not seen it yet. I'm a big Justin Bateman fan, so I will eventually see it.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your role in the film?
Yes. It's. I can't tell you too much about my role. I can tell you it's one of the larger studio film roles that I've had. Mm-hmm. And the film is hilarious. I read it, once I had booked the part, and I read through it, and it's an amazing script by the screenwriter Mark Perez. It's funny as hell and sharp as a tack. And then, Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams and, John Francis Daley, who folks will know from Freaks and Geeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he also did the Horrible Bosses along with Jonathan Goldstein, who is a co-director, and then they co-wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming together. So they're hot shots, and really this, as far as broad comedy and studio comedies go, I think this is one of the better ones in years. And we've been living in Black Panther's shadow for the past since the film came out. But that's a cool thing to do, and it's funny as hell, and I promise you will have a good time in the theater. I hope you have a good time in the theater. I usually don't laugh out loud at these things, and like I'm partial. I'm in the freaking movie, but I really have no stock in how it does. I don't make that much money, one way or the other. But it's really, really good. I encourage folks to see it in the theater with friends, and it's a lot of fun and a good escape, the political drama that's going on every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I understand though a little bit more why you're not a big fan of the big comic book movies,
Oh no. No. Truly, it's amazing what Black Panther has done, and it's amazing, to have a huge film like that do so well, and only have like 2 white actors in it, and be directed by an African American. It's just, and for it to be shot here in Georgia too, a lot of it was, at least, and it's just, I think it's such a cool thing.
Right.
But comic book stuff. When they make, I don't know, I had a number of favorite comics. I like Spawn, but I think Seth MacFarlane's actually doing.
Yes, he is. Spawn.
So that I'm hoping that'll be good. I really love, I got into Image Comics, which, my brothers were into Marvel and Dark Horse and shit, and I guess to counter them, I just got really into Image. So Pitt and Max was one of my favorite.
Okay,
comics. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, that's the stuff that I would love to see made, and I'd be excited about. But Marvel wasn't exactly my bag. Gambit, for some reason I like Gambit and Nightcrawler, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the Spawn movie. I don't know how much you've heard about it, but Todd McFarlane wrote the movie, and he also wants to direct it, and he hasn't directed anything before.
Yeah, well, but I think I think he has an amazing eye for it. When you're doing storyboard animation, basically, or storyboards, that's all he's doing when he's creating a comic book. And
true,
he has an amazing sense of frame, and I think that might be a easier crossover than maybe folks will give him credit for. It's the dynamic of a set that may be the hard thing, but I think the look and the style, I think that's going to be pretty special.
Todd McFarlane's writing was never good. Look back on a lot of the first Spider-Man run, and then on early Spawn. Spawn only got interesting when he brought in guys like Neil Gaiman and Frank Miller and those guys to write the book, because it was basically unreadable. The concepts in Spawn are fantastic. Him writing the book, on the other hand, or writing the movie, excuse me, is horrifying. Yeah. Phenomenal eye, but he should do what he did in the comic, which did lead to some lawsuits, but in higher prose to actually write the thing.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, JD.
That it was unreadable until he actually hired people that knew how to write the book.
No. I enjoyed his run when he was writing Spider-Man.
Reread it, man. Reread Torment.
I like Torment.
Reread it. I'm telling you, man, it reads so horribly now. Okay. It is so overwritten, and it is so bad. so bad.
I'll reread it this week.
It's funny, too, all these things you have such an affinity for, you realize, oh, shit, I developed that affinity when I was 11 or something, or whatever, at different stages in your life that you may, going back to look at it, it's oh boy, that's different. That's not as good as I remembered it being. But yeah, that's an interesting point. Inevitably he'll have, a studio wouldn't let him get away with a bad, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they might have just thrown money at him then.
Yeah.
I give you Matrix 2 and 3. So
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, that's not fair.
No, it was not fair.
Yeah,
you were absolutely right.
Yeah.
Cool. So, we're at about an hour now, and so we're getting close to wrap it up. And so, one of the questions we usually like to end on is, how do you measure success?
It's tough because I think I had different. My gauge for it has changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, early in your career, it's getting a call back, and then eventually it's booking something, and then it's booking a larger role, and then I think it's starting to be booking something that people identify with or like for a certain reason, and you know, understand that you brought something different to the table. You know, as actors, not to sound like a complete douche, but I think when I watch something that I've worked on, and I realize like that I'm happy with the work, and to me it seems honest. That is a successful outing for me. But you know, yeah, it doesn't have, you know, it's not paycheck or anything.
Cool.
Or followers on Twitter. But y'all can hit me up on my Twitter, y'all. Joshua Mikel, hit me up at my Instagram. No, I don't, you know, it's not. It's weird. It's hard too, because the more, like, again, you know, you post something and like working Walking Dead, you feel like, oh, I've made it, you know, and when you post something that's Walking Dead related, people eat it up. You have like 5,000 followers, and they, like, you know, you get 2,000 likes out of it or something. I've never gotten 2,000 likes on anything, but you get a bunch of likes, but then you post something that you actually care about, and no one likes it. So it's hard. It's really hard to understand. You know, it's hard to understand where you are.
Well, yeah, but
I'm sorry.
You have to put that in perspective, that today's social media is based on shock value and controversy. So, yeah. You know, it's like you said, like the things that should get a lot of likes or a lot of views, like, you know, hey, these kids were shot, or that sort of thing, or helping people, or you know, natural disasters and recovery relief for people. Those get much fewer views than some people on, say, YouTube that will show a dead body in Japan.
Oh God, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
What a garbage. What a piece of garbage. And they brought him back too.
Yeah.
They brought him back, but he's already in trouble again. But that's the thing, you know, he got more followers from that after it became a controversy, and, you know, in the meantime, things that really mattered. So, you know, that shouldn't be a measure of, you know, your worth.
Right.
Absolutely.
If that was true, then the Kardashians would be worth a lot.
But you realize they're worth. I feel like your success is relative to the intelligence of the people who follow you. Or, you know, like, you know, if you have this fucking throng of followers and people who like what you're doing, but they're all dumb as shit, like, what good is that? Like, what is that? Like,
It's a chance to enlighten them, to hopefully maybe teach them.
Well, not even, I'm saying like that they like you because you post a picture of your face or some shit, you know, versus like, yeah, right. You like folks, if I don't know, it's tough. It's just tough. It's a weird thing. Cause you want to, I'm not trying to be elitist, like, oh, you can only follow me if you have a fucking, you know, at least your GED or something. Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's just like the quality of character of your followers. If people are like, you know, bending over backwards to see what you know, what affair you were just in, or like some fucking nudie photo you posted. Like, that's like low quality stuff. And there's not really a gauge. I mean, a gauge that where folks are like, I don't know, this Kardashian post is, I don't even want to talk about him. I'm sorry. But I don't know. It's just, it's tough. It's really tough in this age, because people are, you know, you're fighting for likes and attention, and unfortunately that is reflected in studio decisions a lot of times. They cast people who have a big following and whose you know, social media they can utilize in promoting a film. You know, but the quality of the folks that it's kind of like, you ever hear there's that thing that's saying about the Velvet Underground, like, you know, it only sold, I don't know, a couple thousand copies in its first week, but every single person who bought that album, who bought the first Velvet Underground album, went out and started a band, you know? And it's the quality of influence that you have, not just the, you know, the influence, not just the likes.
Right. Cool. So on that topic, where can our college-educated listeners find provocative pictures of you online?
All two of them.
Where's the best place?
No, come on. That's not it. Oh, God. It sounds so, but that's not it. That's not it, right? That's not what I was saying. Okay. Oh, God. I sound like such a douche.
No, we're the ones that took it out of context for our own benefit. I mean,
no, you guys. Well, you're college educated guys, so you know how to use a Google search. What a douche! I'm sorry.
God,
no, you know, it's just frustrating, the kind of people who, and I'm not saying I want to be one of these people, but the kind of people who receive attention these days. That dude who has a YouTube channel, like, there's nothing more insufferable than YouTube personalities.
Yes, I agree.
We had a guest once who said he would rather be a YouTube personality than Brad Pitt. That was my favorite line that we've heard in this show.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Wait, what was the reasoning behind that? They just
because YouTube guys are cool. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me then. It makes a little less sense to me now.
I think the argument was that's where the industry's going. So if you can get on and be a YouTube personality now, you'd have more success in the long run. But
oh my God, what who are you? What type of person are you? Like, what does that make you? It makes you terrible. Like just a fucking, God damn it. Just like a consolidated piss beneath the toilet.
Well, yeah, you gotta give it to. There are some YouTube personalities that are good. I mean, not people that are just looking for fame, but you know, are actually doing some good. Like, what's his face? The guy who does the news,
Philip DeFranco.
Philip DeFranco, right?
Sure.
And then you've got a lot of entertainers on there too that are there to entertain. But then you've got the guys showing dead bodies in Japan, and you know, the ones that, you know, basically will do anything, including put their lives in danger. And those are the ones, that I fully agree are just not.
Yeah, and you're that's my knee-jerk generalization of all YouTube personalities. And I haven't watched enough YouTube content for, you know.
Oh, I have. Unfortunately.
Just get to watch that YouTube channel. I gotta get on YouTubes.
Yes, the tubes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guy. I didn't mean to get on a soapbox there.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Self-righteous. It's perfectly fine. We have your self-righteousness forever preserved on digital audio file.
Yeah, just remember, the next time we go on, don't hold back.
But
let's do one with me and burgeoning YouTube star. And
oh God!
If you would like to hear Joshua debate a YouTube star on this very podcast, let us know.
Sorry, guys. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
No,
it was our pleasure, really.
Yes.
So, I hope whoever is driving has arrived safely.
Yes, I believe he has, haven't you, JD?
Oh, I'm good. I'm sitting at home and enjoying the last 10 minutes of this thing. That was great. That was great.
All right. So I think it's a good place to put a pin in it for this week.
Cool.
So, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. And don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.
Thanks, y'all.